One, two. Hello, friends. As you know, I am in Hanoi, Vietnam, a vibrant city full of life and art. There are many things to see here, incredible amount of things to do, and it's a very, very interesting city. From coffee shops to restaurants to Westlake to the museums to the nightlife and other cultural points of interest. I'm having a great time in Hanoi so far, and I have something very special for you here. Another musician that lives in Hanoi. Let's hear from him. Hello, friends. Welcome to Hanoi, and this is my good buddy Dave Valdez, one of the baddest saxophonists in the entire world. Okay, that's what I would have to say about that. He is a bad, bad dude. Now, I want you to meet him because he lives here in Hanoi. He's been in Vietnam and has been traveling the world kind of like me. Parallel to my life is Dave's life here. And I just want him to give you some insights into his life, into his experience in music, so that you can meet him and see what great musicians are doing all over the world. So, Dave.
Thanks for that introduction.
Awesome. Where are you from exactly, Dave?
Geez, I've been moving around a lot, but I grew up in Santa Cruz, California, Bay Area for most of my early life, and then went to school in Boston, and then moved around a lot, back to the Bay Area, Santa Fe for a little bit, Portland, Oregon for 17 years. Before that, New York City. In the late 90s, I was in New York.
Crazy.
It was really interesting. And then after Portland in like 2017, I moved to Kansas City. For during the pandemic, I went to school and got a master's degree at KU out there.
Oh, cool.
I was teaching big band. And then, 4 years ago, I split. I bailed. I was ready. During the pandemic, I was just, I had enough. I just felt like I'm over this. This is not going in a good direction, and I don't see it getting better. And it's gotten worse, it seems like.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I feel better about being over here every year.
So how long have you been in Asia?
I came to Vietnam without a one-way ticket, without ever visiting. I have a lot of connections here already. I've been teaching students for a couple of years.
Wow, so you didn't have any idea what it was like to live here, just showed up?
Just hundreds of hours of YouTube.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, so I bought the ticket. I knew what it's like. I was in love with it. I already
Right.
knew that I was like, Da Nang's incredible, and beach town for really cheap. So landed in Da Nang. Stayed down there where you were, Da Nang. How long ago was it that you were there?
God,
A
about
year
a
ago?
year and a half ago. Year and a half ago. We met in Da Nang, actually, in Da Nang, Vietnam. And when I first landed there, everybody kept telling me, "Oh, you got to meet Dave. Dave Valdez. He's a really bad cat, man. He's from the U.S. and blah blah blah." And at first I was like, "Oh, really? I've never heard about him or nothing." But then when I met him, and we played our first gig together, I was like, "Holy shit!" This guy can really play, man. It's amazing.
Thanks.
So what is your connection with Asia like, passion-wise? Why do you feel such an attachment to Asia?
I wasn't ever interested in it, and my ex-wife had a total fascination, and like she thought she lived here in a past life, and it's like I was not interested in coming here really. I didn't have a big connection to the culture, or it seemed like it would just be hot and miserable all the time, basically, and that was a big reason. And I don't know, during the pandemic, Vietnam was doing great over here. They just controlled things. They look, hey, you've got a government that's actually trying to protect the people instead of injecting them with bleach.
Right.
It was just a mess. And I started looking more and more. What are our options here? Mexico seemed perfect. My mom had been living in Mexico for 20 years or so by the point, alone. Yeah.
Okay.
Down in Jalisco.
All right.
So I'd been down there a lot, and I loved Mexico. And Mexico City is incredible. I miss Mexico City. there was just a beautiful life happening here. Every picture looked amazing. You know, every woman was beautiful. The food looked incredible.
Right.
It's just like, how could this be real?
Right.
These guys. So I started, trying to find the guys who are players, and who are there any players at all? And,
Right.
and found TMT, Jemeng Dong, and started corresponding with him and Doc. Doc was playing some amazing shit.
These are guys from Vietnam who are probably like top tier players in Vietnam, yeah.
For sure.
So what is your relationship with Afro-Cuban music or Latin music? You do a lot of that stuff too. How did you first get into that stuff?
I guess it was at Berkeley. The first year I was there, I started moonlighting, playing with merengue bands.
Yeah.
The Dominican merengue bands are 5-hour gigs all over New England.
Right.
The music is unbelievably hard. Right? It's just like the most brutal, hardest, the single tonguing, crazy.
Right.
And they're all like, everyone's hepped up. Everyone, like, the only way, they're 5-hour solid gigs.
Right.
I can't even imagine playing like that now. But anyway, from merengue to, there's a lot of salsa there.
Sure.
Puerto Rican salsa. And then did a lot of time playing with Colombian cumbia.
Right, yeah, totally.
$50.
Right. So what about drummers? The audience here is 90% drummers on this channel. What do you like to hear from drummers? Okay, first of all, let's take melody-wise. When you're playing the melody of a tune, it's a standard. Let's talk about standards for a minute. When you're playing the melody, what do you like to hear?
I want to hear the drummer marking some form and kind of directing things and filling up the spaces when there are kicks. So I want to hear the drummer being clear about which kicks they're playing and then going time, right?
Right.
So there are only certain points where I have expectations for the drummer. Right. Other than the solos, when I want them to everything, the energy and do all the esoteric shit.
Right.
But that's partly up to the band leader and to me to writing a correct chart to tell him, and I can, with the correct chart, I can direct that as much as I want.
Okay, good.
Yeah, I can write the symbol. At least I want to write the band hits and anything, and it's almost always just like a couple. There's a break here, and then there's a hit here, and that happens every time or whatever.
So what about during your soloing? What do you like to hear when you're soloing?
I want to hear interaction. I want the drummer not to have to feel like they're making the time and how dictating and directing the time. And only if there's a bass player that's taking the responsibility and laying the time down can the drummer surrender all forms of quarter note to the bass player, and then they're not having this fight of their negotiation, which should never even happen. And this negotiation, and this happens all the time in Mexico, and it happens more often. You get weird things like this. Time feels where it doesn't link up, and no one's like, everyone's okay with this. Everyone's like, it just goes into limbo, and everyone's like, hey, I'm like, whoa, I gotta stop playing. You can't hear the time. But that's why, because they're like, oh, I'm the drummer. I have playing the time. No, you're not playing the fucking quarter notes.
Right. And that, my friends, is what great players say when they want to hear a drummer that understands how to function, especially in jazz. That coincides with every great player that I've ever talked to, right? The situation with the quarter note, the way that the drummers roll in the band, right? What your role is as a drummer, it's not the same as in rock or funk, stuff like that. You really have to understand what your part in the band is. And I'm so happy that Dave said this, because it totally goes with every great musician that I've ever played with in jazz.
And I learned that and internalized that from my best friend Anthony Pizziotti, a great drummer in New York. And he made me, just playing with him, made me realize in different situations, and then hearing him teach a bunch of lessons to drummers.
Right.
And that was the big thing. It's like, he'll go, if the bass player, if it's dragging, then he'll drag.
Right.
He's not gonna, no, he's the slave at all times.
Right.
And he's just there for form and energy and comping, because if he gives up that time roll, then he's free to do anything.
Right.
He's not having to dictate the quarter note anymore, and he shouldn't be.
Right.
Right.
Exactly.
And so he should not be the metronome. In
Right.
rock, he's a metronome.
Right.
So they go from being a metronome to like being the juju.
Right. That's so awesome, man. So, what advice would you give, like younger drummers or just starting out in jazz? Because I know you've done lots of workshops too, and master classes. And what advice would you give, like a guy just starting out in jazz, if you want to play jazz? What would you tell the drummer?
Makes me think of this program down in Tucson that I was teaching out a little bit, Tucson Jazz Institute, and they had these junior high kids playing this like Chick Webb big band music, and they're swinging so hard. They're swinging harder than any high school band that I hear, and most, every band here, you've got those junior high kids swinging harder than professional bands in Vietnam. That's what it sounds like.
Right.
It's like, how did they do that?
Right.
What is the thing how did he make a 12-year-old sound like he's swinging super hard and digging in? And they're pounding on 2 and 4. They're just like the bass player.
Weird.
Yeah, and that's giving it more forward motion. It's actually sounding like it's swinging. That's like one of the quickest ways to do that. And usually I have to correct drummers from they're not playing enough quarter notes. Right? They're playing on playing like 25-30% more quarter notes straight, because they're going ding 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 ding. They're doing that every time.
Right.
And that sounds totally hokey.
Yeah, it's super hokey. Yeah.
Super hokey. So those are like the two most common things that you like encounter, like to try to get the bass player, get the right functioning, so they're not fighting. Right? So the drummer's watching the bass player instead of they're watching each other and like, what's happening with the fingers? If you're watching each other, then you're still negotiating. Like, you still don't have that clear roles defined of active reactive. Right? It's male female. It's one or the other. It's like if it's not happening, then you're fighting. So,
how do you feel about jazz in New York compared to jazz in Asia? I know there's a cultural chasm there, but what do you feel is the major difference between? I know there's like Euro jazz. In Europe, there's a different feel. Jazz has a slightly different feel. In New York, even in LA, from West Coast to East Coast, there's a different kind of vibe. What do you feel like is the biggest thing between Asian culture in jazz and like from the United States?
I think those differences are rapidly disappearing now because you've got too many generations of students that have been going to conservatories, to Berkeley and to, California or whatever.
Right.
So, like in Thailand, it seemed like the level was comparable to like even Kansas City or something. It seemed like just very high. It was just like the players, even the Thai players were. I was like, whoa, wait, these guys are, functional like journeyman level.
Interesting.
Players. And I mean, compared to, you were in Latin America, different countries take, it develops, seemed in little bursts. Like in 2000, it wasn't that great in Mexico. In Guadalajara, there's only a couple of clubs. And in Mexico City, it kind of exploded. So it takes years. You have to have education. They have, we don't have high school band education, anything in the public schools here.
Right.
So it's kind of still in the realm of the rich kids, right?
Right.
They haven't figured out. You have to get instruments to them. There's all these different problems. How are you going to get reeds and get repairs here? Everything's mold on everything. But
okay, let me check the phone real quick to make sure we're good. Still rolling.
But I haven't spent much time in Japan. That's still something I'd like to explore more.
Yeah.
Korea too. That's on the radar.
Me too.
So,
totally.
For me, this was a choice of the cheapest cost of living and the ability to easily just pop around.
Right. So that's what Vietnam offers. Like if you want to do projects, sink your money into projects is what I do instead of paying some landlord. It's really great for that, Vietnam. You can live at a high level for a very low cost. and
And travel.
travel.
Travel. I just got back from Cambodia for
Right.
4 or 5 days.
Right, right.
You can, there's little clubs you can play. Different Chiang Mai, there are like 10 venues you can play.
Wow, I've never been to Chiang Mai yet, but I think the modern musician now. I mean, if your career is set, whatever in New York, then you're great. You're lucky, if you're Pat Metheny or whatever, I mean, fantastic.
Yeah.
But I think for the great majority of jazz musicians, the world has changed so much.
Yeah.
There's no need to sit there in New York and break your butt, paying rent or whatever. And what if you get sick or something? What if there's so many things that could be better by living somewhere else in the modern age? How do you feel about that?
There are more and more people that are looking for an escape route right now. I think everyone should have their plan B and C worked out. For sure, there's these great jazz scenes all over. And if, just a fraction of the people moved out of New York, we'd have bass players again.
Yeah, right. I personally, I don't understand why guys don't move out of there. It's just
Right.
weird to me.
Right. Rome's supposed to have a really happening scene.
Yeah, Rome. I lived in Rome for a while. I didn't find it too inspiring, but
Another option, Sydney, if you want a more Western
right.
option.
I haven't been to Australia. I'm trying to figure that out. Yeah.
A lot of good players there, even good jazz education. I've been playing with these guys from Sydney. These young guitarist, Eric, sounds like a modern Jim Hall or something.
Wow.
So they come over, and then have you been to Korea?
No, I'm dying to get to Korea, man. I
me
really
too.
want it. I really want to get to Korea and Japan, like we said.
Right. And do you have any contacts in India for us?
Yes, I do. I have a lot of contacts in India, which I just
need to go back to Delhi, and
Oh, yeah?
I need to get some more sandalwood oil there.
Yeah, man. India is just a mecca for percussion and rhythm and drumming. I mean, I want to go back, So we'll see what happens there.
Let's take a little break here. We're recording here. We're doing what we're doing.
Should I come back?
Yeah.
Okay, well we can wrap it up.
Yeah,
Okay.
she's fine.
Yeah. Man, I really want to thank Dave for this interview. I really wanted you to hear from someone other than me that's doing this music thing the way we're doing it, on an international level, playing all over the world without being tied to any specific thing, being our own bosses, masters of our own destiny, let's say. And I really want to thank Dave. Amazing, amazing player. And we'll have some stuff for you coming up that we're going to record together soon. But I think it's invaluable to hear from a guy like Dave. Okay, so thanks for watching. Yeah, man, thank you. Thank you for doing this. Appreciate it. Thanks for watching. See you in the next video. Peace.